When I saw the $13,000 missing from my emergency account, I thought it had to be a mistake until I saw my mom's name on the withdrawal. She drained me dry to pay for my brother's wedding, then told everyone it was her surprise gift. They thought I'd let it go. Instead, I turned their perfect dinner party into a reckoning. The first thing I felt was heat. Not anger, not panic, just this wave of heat crawling up my spine as I stared at the Chase app on my phone. $13,000. Gone. Just vanished. The last transaction sat there, bold as daylight. Cashier's check. C. Riley minus $13,000. I blinked. Refreshed the page. Blinked again. Still there. Still gone. I texted my mom, Claire. Emmy, did you take $13,000 from the Chase emergency account? Her reply came back 5 seconds later. Claire, you make 6 figures, Madison. Just breathe. I couldn't. The air in my apartment smelled like burnt toast, except I hadn't cooked anything all morning. My stomach twisted, my palms started to sweat, and my knees buckled before I managed to sit down at the edge of the bed. The emergency account. The one I opened last year when Mom moved in after her hip surgery. We'd linked it under my name for convenience, she said, just until she got back on her feet. Just so I could monitor it, make sure the bills stayed paid. I never imagined she'd touch it. Not without asking. And yet here I was, alone in my studio apartment in Tacoma, listening to the faint hum of rain against the windows, trying to stop myself from hurling my phone across the room. A week ago, I'd wired nearly $20,000 to my brother Lucas. Wedding deposit, venue, caterer, dress rentals, the whole glamorous package he somehow forgot to budget for. He said he left his card at home, promised to pay me back in May after his next closing. And I believed him. Because even though Lucas was a hotshot real estate agent with more selfies than listings on Zillow, he was still my little brother. And I always handled things. I always fixed it. Mom used to say I was born 40 and grew into 30. Lucas? He was the golden boy. Still got away with calling her Mommy in front of waiters. At the wedding brunch, white linen tablecloths, pastel roses, jazz quartet playing Coldplay. Claire stood up, champagne glass in hand. Her voice wobbled as she smiled at me. To our generous Maddie, she said, none of this would have been possible without her. Everyone clapped. I smiled, cheeks burning. But in my chest, something cracked, like a hairline fracture that hadn't quite healed. That brunch was 6 days ago. Now my mom had drained $13,000 from the account I set up to protect her. And when I asked her about it, she told me to breathe, like it was some petty little overreaction. I called her. She didn't pick up. I tried again, straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message, just sat there, frozen, staring at the blinking balance on my app. Eventually, I called Nikki. She picked up on the first ring. Hey, you okay? I didn't answer right away. Just breathed, short and shallow. They took it, Nick. The money's gone. 13 grand. A pause. Then, wait, who's they? My mom. Lucas. I don't even know. But it's a cashier's check, made out to C. Riley. And, my throat closed up. I think she signed into the Chase app on her iPad. Nikki let out a low whistle. Jesus, Madison. I don't even know what to do. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Okay. First, sit down, drink some water. Second, you're not crazy. This is not normal. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. My apartment felt like a pressure cooker, tiny, cluttered, filled with the hum of betrayal. She told me to breathe. I whispered, like I'm being dramatic. Nikki didn't hesitate. That's gaslighting, babe. Full stop. The tears came then, slow and stupid, like my body was still trying to pretend I wasn't completely blindsided. I'd always known Claire played favorites. Lucas was the golden son, even after he wrecked Dad's old Camry in high school and lied about it. Me? I got grounded for a B+ in algebra. But this was theft. And I just bought them a wedding. I stared at the ceiling, blinking back tears. My ceiling fan spun like it always did. Slow, steady, indifferent. Everything looked the same. Nothing was the same. I reached for my phone again. No new texts, no apologies, no explanations. Only one thought echoed in my head. They think I won't do anything. But they were wrong. They picked the wrong daughter to steal from. I stared at my screen for 2 hours before I called her again. She answered this time. FaceTime. Full glam, soft filter on. She was sipping tea like it was a casual Sunday, and not the aftermath of financial betrayal. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, all honeyed voice and pink lipstick. "Is this about the money again?" Again. Like I was nagging. I forced a smile that felt like chewing glass. "Yes, Mom, this is about the money. You took $13,000 from the emergency account." Without asking, she shrugged like it was a bad weather forecast. "Madison, it's a gift. You're doing fine. I figured you'd understand." My throat went dry. "You figured?" Her laugh was small and condescending, the kind people use on toddlers. "You just made, what, a quarterly bonus? Or was that last month's? You told me you were promoted, didn't you? 6 figures? UX something?" "I lent Lucas $19,700 for the wedding," I said, voice cracking. "I'm not a bank, Mom, and you just took more?" She waved a dismissive hand. "Don't be dramatic." "Dramatic? You took money that wasn't yours. It's not like you're going to starve." I wanted to scream. Instead, I stared at her screen. Behind her, I could see Lucas's new wedding photo on the mantle. Him and his bride, Kelsey, both glowing in champagne-filtered bliss. Mom sipped her tea again. "You were so generous with Lucas. Why ruin the moment now?" "Because I didn't offer you 13 grand. You stole it." Her voice lowered. "Don't say things you'll regret." And just like that, the conversation flipped. Suddenly I was the problem. I was the ungrateful one. The stingy sister. The bitter daughter. I ended the call before I said something I'd carry forever. Afterward, I sat in silence. The cherry blossoms outside were in full bloom, petals floating past my window like confetti. It should have felt beautiful. It didn't. I'd paid for my brother's wedding, smiled through the brunch toast, and bit my tongue when Mom called me our generous Maddie, like I was a bank with nice handwriting. And now she was calling it a gift. I scrolled back to the wedding photos. There I was in the background, holding Kelsey's bouquet while the photographer adjusted her veil. No caption, no tag, just forgotten hands and a sea of smiles. I texted Nikki, M.E. She said it was a gift. Nikki, let me guess. She decided that after taking it. M.E. Yeah, apparently I'm dramatic now. Nikki, oh honey, she's gaslighting you like it's a full-time job. Me, I'm losing it. I feel like I'm going crazy. Nikki, you're not. You're finally seeing clearly. I lay in bed that night, the ceiling fan slicing the air above me. When had I become the backup plan for everyone else's chaos? The responsible one. The helpful one. The one who always said yes. Lucas once forgot his rent and called me crying. I wired him $1,200 and skipped my own dentist appointment to make rent. Mom needed surgery. I moved her into my place for 4 months. When Kelsey's bridal shower hit a budget snag, I Venmo'd her maid of honor, no questions asked. And this was the thanks I got. A stolen account. A FaceTime shrug. A daughter dismissed. I picked up my phone again. My thumb hovered over Mom's contact. Then I switched to Lucas. His profile picture was from the wedding, him in a navy tux, smirking like life had been tailor-made for him. I stared at the message box. I wanted to write something cruel. Something surgical. But I didn't. Instead, I tapped out one sentence. "Did you know Mom used my Chase account for your down payment?" No reply. I waited 10 minutes. Then 15. At the 20-minute mark, I got a notification. Lucas had posted on Facebook. "Shout out to Mom for the surprise down payment gift, 2 hearts. We love you. #blessed. #Mom knows best." I stared at the post. Then I saw my name nowhere. I clicked comment, typed gift, sent. A minute later, it vanished, deleted. That's when it hit me. They weren't sorry. They weren't confused. They knew. And they were hoping I'd stay quiet. But I wasn't going to. Not this time. I drove to Mom's house the next morning, our old family ranch in South Tacoma, all faded siding and blooming daffodils by the porch. The kind of house that looked cozy from the outside, like it had a heart. It didn't. I knocked. No answer. Used the spare key under the fake rock. The air inside was warm, faintly herbal. Lavender oil diffusers in every corner. Mom's latest obsession. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the iPad charging by the coffee maker. I knew what I was looking for. And I knew exactly how she did it. Last year, after her surgery, She'd insisted on adding her devices to my banking app, just in case. I agreed, stupidly trusting she'd only check balances. But there it was. Chase. Mobile sign-in. iPad. 0318. 4:42 p.m. I scrolled. Cashier's check withdrawal. $13,000. Memo, home upgrade. The same day as her lunch date with Aunt Diane. I found the deposit receipt tucked into a floral notebook on the side table. I ran my fingers over it. It felt like sandpaper. Home upgrade, my ass. I stood there, gripping that scratchy paper, listening to the faint hum of the dishwasher, thinking about every time I'd covered for her, for them. How she moved in after the surgery and never left. How she forgot to cancel the old cable package. How I spent $4,800 in 8 months keeping this house running while she painted her sunroom coral pink and blamed menopause for the moods. And now she'd stolen from me. I should have walked out. Instead, I wandered into the sunroom, the one she'd been redecorating since January. The walls were lined with thrifted mirrors, faded live, laugh, love signs, and a new velvet chaise lounge she'd insisted was a steal. I sat down on it. It wasn't. Later that day, Nikki and I met at Pioneer Coffee downtown. She ordered a black Americano. I ordered chamomile and nearly spilled it on my jeans when I showed her the deposit slip. She transferred it herself, I said, from our joint account, marked it for home upgrades. Nikki's jaw tightened. So she used the account you opened for emergencies to renovate her sunroom? She calls it the healing room now. Nikki snorted. Jesus, Madison, this is fraud. I know. She took the slip, read it again, then glanced at me. What do you want to do? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know yet. That night, I tried to eat dinner, leftover curry and rice, but it tasted metallic, like it had been filtered through guilt and rage. I lay in bed afterward, phone on my chest, scrolling through old photos. Me and Lucas at the Space Needle. Mom in her hospital gown, smiling weakly. That Christmas where we all wore matching pajamas, I'd bought them. No one even took the tags off. And then my screen lit up. A text. Claire, don't be petty in front of the family. That's all she said. No apology, no explanation, just a threat, disguised as motherly advice. I stared at it for a long time, my whole body buzzing. Then I did something reckless. I posted on Instagram. Just a photo of the deposit slip. No caption, no tag, just truth. Within 10 minutes, Lucas called. I didn't pick up. He texted, Mads, delete that. People are getting the wrong idea. Wrong idea? No, they were finally getting the right one. My DMs lit up. Aunt Diane. Call me, honey. My cousin Elise. What's going on? I thought it was a gift. Kelsey's sister. Wait, didn't you pay for the wedding? I ignored them all. The silence in my apartment felt different now. Not empty, not lonely. It felt loaded, like the moment right before a fire alarm blares. It was Nikki who sent me the screenshot. Have you seen Lucas's latest post? Her text said. You might want to sit down. I was already sitting. At my desk, wrapped in a hoodie, eating sad noodles from a mug. I opened Instagram and went to Lucas's profile. There it was. A photo of him and Kelsey standing in front of their new condo. Big white bow on the door. Caption. Shout out to Mom for the surprise down payment gift. 2 hearts, we love you. 58 comments. All heart emojis. OMG, congrats. And, Claire's the sweetest. I stared at the screen. Cold rage pulsed behind my eyes. I commented, gift? It was gone in under 3 minutes. Deleted. Like my contribution. Like the truth. Nikki called me. They're rewriting it, she said. They're painting her as the giver. You as the footnote. She's telling people I offered the extra money, I muttered. That it was my idea. How do you know? Aunt Diane. She'd called me that morning. Soft voice, hesitant tone. Honey, your mom said you offered the extra $13,000. Said it was a gesture because you're comfortable. Comfortable, I'd repeated, flat. She said that. She said you insisted. Because you wanted to help. That it was your way of giving back. I didn't yell. I just thanked her and hung up. Then I got the text from Mom Claire. Don't be petty in front of the family. As if her lies weren't already spreading like spilled wine on white carpet. I screenshotted everything. Lucas's post, the deleted comment, my texts with Aunt Diane. I saved them in a folder titled Receipts. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reality. That night, I pulled up my budgeting spreadsheet. The number at the bottom screamed at me. Minus $432.29, I blinked. My rent check had bounced. I checked the calendar. My bonus trip to Denver, birthday weekend, paid Airbnb, jazz tickets, the whole thing, was 3 days away. Non-refundable. Gone. I stared at my phone, called the bank, sat on hold, listening to a synth version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough. When I finally got someone, the answer was simple: insufficient funds. The check had cleared late because of the cashier's check pull. My emergency buffer was wiped. I hung up and started sobbing. Not quiet tears. Not the kind you wipe away with a sleeve and pretend didn't happen. These were ugly, hiccuping sobs. I sat on the kitchen floor, forehead against the cabinet, tasting copper in the back of my throat. My birthday was going to be spent here, alone. Not in Denver with Nikki. Not laughing over martinis. Not dancing in boots I hadn't even gotten a chance to wear yet. They'd taken that too. Nikki FaceTimed me 20 minutes later. I canceled the trip. I choked out. The check bounced. I can't. Stop. Her face was steady. Her voice firmer than ever. Madison, this isn't a misunderstanding. This isn't a bad decision. This is theft. I know. They used you. Lucas knew you'd cover it. Your mom knew she could grab more. And they counted on you staying silent. I nodded slowly. But inside, something shifted. It wasn't just pain anymore. It was resolve. Because this wasn't the first time. Not even close. I thought about the lemonade stand money when I was 11. How Mom said she'd borrowed it for a Macy's card bill. You owe me for raising you right, she said. I never saw a dime of it again. I was done being polite. Done being the responsible one. The nice one. I stood up, wiped my face, and opened my laptop. I had work to do. It was 1:14 a.m. when I sat down at my desk. Rain tapped soft rhythms on the window. Tacoma was asleep, but I was wide awake. The glow of my laptop lit up the room like a secret. I opened a fresh Google Drive folder and titled it, Family Account Fraud, Riley Case. First, the basics. Screenshots from my Chase app. Withdrawal records. The exact date, time, and device used. iPad, Claire Riley, 03/18. Next, the deposit slip I'd found in the floral notebook. I scanned it, labeled it Exhibit A. Then I pulled my bank statements, March, February, January, highlighted every single transaction tied to the emergency fund, color-coded them, blue for Madison, red for Claire. The red spread like blood across the page. Then came the Venmo receipt. $19,700 wired to Lucas, quote, for wedding stuff, on March 2nd. Caption, don't spend it all on shrimp. And the brunch photos. Me smiling while Mom gave her little speech. To our generous Maddie. My face frozen in time. Applause behind me. A glass raised in my honor while my pockets bled dry. I added that too. I typed a timeline of events. March 2nd. Wedding payment to Lucas March 6th. Wedding brunch March 18th. Unauthorized withdrawal from Chase joint account March 20th. Lucas's Instagram post March 23rd. Rent check bounces March 24th. Canceled Denver trip. By 3:27 a.m., I had a 27-page PDF and a headache sharp enough to split glass. But I wasn't done. I pulled up the Pierce County Sheriff's Office website and filed a fraud report. The intake woman called back the next day. Her voice was calm, professional. You're saying you didn't authorize the withdrawal? No, I said. I can prove it. You're listed as the primary account holder? Yes. She's not on the title. She used my saved credentials. That would technically qualify as unauthorized access, which, under Washington law, could be pursued as fraud. I sat there, heart thudding like a drumbeat. She continued, You'll want to bring all documentation if you decide to press charges. But yes, this is a viable case. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I printed everything. The printer hissed and clicked, hot toner filling the air. It smelled like a decision. I didn't tell Nikki. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. Because this wasn't just revenge. It was protection. I had spent years letting them narrate who I was. Strong, reliable Madison. The one who could take it. The one who always helped. The one who never said no. But this wasn't a story anymore. It was evidence. And I was keeping receipts. The next day Lucas called me. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, a new group text appeared. Family chat Lucas. Hey! Dinner next Saturday at Mom's. Thank you dinner for everyone who helped make the wedding perfect heart. Kelsey's making pot roast. Mom liked the message. So did Kelsey. A few cousins chimed in with can't wait. I stared at the screen. My thumbs hovered. Then typed. Me. Sure, I'll bring something. Lucas. Awesome, you're the best. Claire. Looking forward to it, sweetheart. I smiled, because they had no idea what I was bringing. Not wine, not dessert, but the full weight of what they'd done. I parked 2 houses down. The sun was just starting to dip, casting golden light across the cracked sidewalks of our neighborhood. I could see the ranch house glowing from the inside, string lights in the sunroom, laughter through the open windows. It smelled like pot roast and cinnamon candles. Home, if you didn't look too closely. I walked up the path with my tote bag slung over one shoulder, a neat manila folder tucked safely inside. Not shaking, not hesitating. Just ready. Lucas opened the door. Mads, he grinned. Perfect timing, we just opened the wine. I hugged him loosely. He smelled like cologne and comfort. If I didn't know better, I'd almost believe he was still just my little brother. Inside, the table was set for 10. Polished silverware, cloth napkins, Kelsey in a blush-wrapped dress, bustling between dishes. Mom, already seated, lifted a glass of red. To Madison, she said, smiling. Our generous girl. I smiled back. Actually, I said, I brought something. I reached into the tote bag and pulled out the stack of printed reports, slid them across the table like place cards. One in front of Lucas. One in front of Claire, one for Kelsey, even though she had no idea what was coming. Go ahead, page 2, I said. Everyone hesitated. Then Lucas opened his. The sound of pages flipping echoed louder than any voice. Wait, he said, frowning. Is this a fraud report? Claire's wineglass froze mid-air. Kelsey leaned in. What's going on? I kept my voice level, steady. Page 2 lists the unauthorized withdrawal. March 18th, $13,000. From the Chase joint account. Signed in from Mom's iPad. Claire's face flushed deep red. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I continued. The report was filed with Pierce County Sheriff's Office. The intake officer confirmed. It qualifies as financial fraud. You didn't have to go nuclear, Lucas said. Voice low, jaw tight. Nikki's voice rang out from my phone speaker. FaceTime on mute until now. She did, Nikki said. And you know it. Everyone turned. I tilted the screen slightly, revealing Nikki's face. Calm, firm, beautiful in her clarity. Uncle Mike, seated across from me, cleared his throat. That's embezzlement. The word hung in the air like smoke. Claire finally found her voice. You're embarrassing us. Right here, in front of everyone? You embarrassed me when you drained my account and lied about it, I said. You told people I offered it as a gift, deleted my comments, made me look unhinged for telling the truth. Lucas pushed back his chair. We're family. Then you should have acted like it. Silence. Just forks scraping ceramic. Kelsey's hand shaking slightly as she refolded her napkin. Aunt Cheryl mouthing, "Oh my God," across the table. I stood up. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm not here to fight. I just needed everyone to know what really happened. Lucas muttered, "This is dramatic." I nodded. Maybe. But sometimes drama's the only language people like you understand. Then I looked at my mother. Claire Riley, retired teacher, pastel cardigan queen, manipulator wrapped in pearls. You didn't just take money, I said softly. You took my trust, and you spent it like it was yours to burn. She didn't speak, just stared at the report in front of her like it might catch fire. I'll be removing you from the joint account, I said. Tomorrow morning. All passwords are changed. And if I hear one more lie about me offering that money, this goes public. Claire stood slowly, her hands trembled. You've always been so cold. No, I said. I've just finally stopped warming myself by fires that burn me. I left my tote bag on the chair. Empty now. Light. Walked out the front door. The quietest goodbye I'd ever given. Outside, the cherry trees were just beginning to shed. Pale pink petals floated through the air like confetti after war. The next morning my phone was still. No calls. No texts, no drama-laced voicemails. I half expected an explosion, but all I got was Claire's last message, still sitting unread. "You've always been so cold." She hadn't blocked me. She hadn't replied. She was waiting for me to fold first. But I didn't. Instead, I drove to the bank. The teller was a young woman named Serena. She had a soft voice and gold hoops in her ears. I handed her my ID, sat across the glass desk, and said, "I'd like to close a joint checking account. One co-owner has accessed funds without permission." Her eyebrows lifted slightly, but she didn't ask for more. She slid a paper across the desk. "You're the primary. We'll freeze access today. The funds will be locked until full closure. You'll receive a final check once verification is complete." I signed the form. With every loop of ink, I felt lighter. It was the sound of a boundary being built. Afterward, I changed my login credentials on everything: Chase, Venmo, Dropbox, my email, even Netflix, just in case. Then, I blocked Lucas. Not out of pettiness, out of peace. I left Claire unblocked. Let her sit in that little echo chamber of her own creation. Back home, I brewed a fresh pot of coffee and sat at my tiny kitchen table, watching spring drizzle coat the window. My phone buzzed once. Nikki. Nikki. "So, what's the fallout?" Emmy. "Quiet. Too quiet." Nikki. "That's how you know it landed." She was right. Later that night, I checked the group chat. Dead. Not a single message since Lucas's thank you dinner invite. A week ago, we were exchanging bridal shower photos and potluck signups. Now, digital tumbleweeds. I went to bed early and slept better than I had in months. But the real shift came 2 days later. I got an email from a paralegal. Claire Riley had formally requested a settlement through her lawyer. The message was clear. She was willing to repay the $13,000 in full if I agreed to drop the fraud complaint. I stared at the PDF, then opened the sheriff's case number from Pierce County. The two files sat side by side on my screen, like two versions of my future. One was a clean break. The other was a public war. I chose the first, but on my terms. I wrote back, "I'll accept the repayment in full, but the funds must be certified and delivered within 10 business days. If not, I proceed. No more begging, no more reminders, just terms." 3 days later, a cashier's check arrived via courier. Signed, sealed, silent. No note, no apology, no phone call, just money in an envelope. I stared at it, heart steady. That was the cost of my silence. I deposited it, shredded the envelope, and exhaled. Then I did one final thing. I left the family group chat. No message, no warning, just left. I didn't need to announce it. They knew. And in that vacuum of silence, the truth rang louder than it ever had when I was yelling. 3 weeks later, I packed everything I owned into a U-Haul and drove south. No goodbye texts, no sudden appearances at my door, no dramatic "but we're family" speeches. Just quiet, and keys in my hand. I didn't tell anyone I was moving, not even Nikki until the truck was already loaded. "Emmy, I'm headed to Santa Fe." Nikki, "You serious?" Emmy, "Completely." Nikki, "Damn, that's bold." Emmy, "It feels right." Nikki, "I'm visiting the second you hang art." The drive took 2 days. Long stretches of pine trees, canyon walls, and sky so wide, it made my shoulders relax. Somewhere near Flagstaff, I realized I'd gone almost 4 hours without checking my phone. I hadn't felt that free in years. My new apartment was small, bright, and full of possibility. 1 bedroom, clay-tiled kitchen, view of the Sangre de Cristos in the distance. I didn't have much furniture, just what I'd kept in storage and the one sunflower yellow kettle I bought on day 1. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The first thing I did was paint the kitchen. "Sunflower field," the sample said. Warm and unapologetic. The second thing I did was block Claire's number. For good this time. Then I unpacked my books, strung twinkle lights along the windows, and signed up for a ceramics class 2 blocks from my new place. I told the instructor I was new in town. She smiled and said, "Then welcome home." My hands hadn't touched clay since college. That first class, I nearly dropped the wheel. But something about that mess, wet, imperfect, spinning under pressure, felt familiar. It reminded me of healing. One evening I stepped out onto my balcony. The air smelled like sage and rain. Soft lights scattered across terracotta rooftops. I brewed tea in my yellow kettle and curled up with a throw blanket, phone face down beside me. My inbox had 3 unread messages: Claire, Lucas, and one from an unknown number with a subject line: "You've made your point. Can we talk now?" I didn't open any of them. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in 30 years, my silence didn't feel like retreat. It felt like strength. I posted a photo on Instagram. My new balcony. A mug of tea. The faint purple mountains in the back. Caption: "Peace isn't quiet. It's knowing who you are and who you're no longer answering to." No tags. No location. Just truth. The likes rolled in. Nikki commented, "That's my girl." And underneath it, someone I hadn't heard from in months. Aunt Diane. She wrote, "You did what the rest of us never could. I hope it's beautiful there." I stared at the comment for a long time, then smiled. It was. Weeks passed. The desert taught me things the city never could, like how to be still without guilt, how to let a morning pass without productivity, how to exhale. I learned the sound of coyote paws on gravel, how to burn sage the right way. That clay isn't just shaped by pressure, it's shaped by presence. My ceramics instructor, Lila, told me one evening, "You don't press the wheel, you meet it." That night, I dreamed I was spinning. But instead of falling apart, I came together. My mornings smelled like sage, coffee, and lemon balm. I stopped checking my phone before I brushed my teeth. I started walking to the market instead of driving. I even got used to being called ma'am by the teen at the corner bakery. I kept the cashier's check receipt, the bank paperwork, and the sheriff's report in a labeled folder, closed, not in case I needed it again. Just as a reminder of the door I'd sealed. But of course, the past doesn't knock, it leaks. One Thursday morning, my phone lit up with a call from a blocked number. I didn't answer. It rang again that night. Then again, on Sunday. Then a voicemail appeared. "Madison, it's Mom. Please, just call. It doesn't have to be like this." I stared at it, thumb hovering over the play button. I didn't press it. Instead, I pressed delete. 2 days later, Lucas emailed me. The subject line read, "Can we reset?" Nobody. Just an attachment. A photo of us as kids. Me holding his hand at a pumpkin patch, smiling like I didn't know what was coming. I archived it. Then I made a new filter in Gmail, from lucas.riley@gmail.com, right pointing arrow, delete immediately. The world didn't explode. No lightning cracked the sky. Just peace. One afternoon, I ran into a woman at the ceramics studio, early 40s, divorce still fresh. She said, "You're the one who moved here from Washington, right?" I nodded. "You seem really free." I smiled, soft and quiet. I had to be. And I did. Because no one frees you. No one hands you the scissors and says, "Go cut the strings." You pick them up yourself, one by one, even the ones knotted at the neck. That night, I FaceTimed Nikki. She grinned at the view behind me. Sunset across the hills, my yellow kitchen in the background. "Girl, you look good. Like spiritually exfoliated." "I think I am," I laughed. "Any word from the thieves?" I shook my head. "A few attempts, no bites." "You're stronger than me. I'd have gone full petty." "I thought about it," I said. "But peace is louder when you don't explain it." She leaned closer to the camera. "You gonna stay there?" I looked around my little home, the hand-thrown bowls drying on the counter, the sunflowers on my windowsill. "Yeah," I said. "I think I already have."